Hello, everyone. So it is 9 o'clock Pacific time, and I am Juan, for those that I haven't met before. So today's conversation is one of, I think, when it comes to yoga philosophy, personally, I would say that Bhakti Yoga, the path of Bhakti Yoga, is one of the most abstracts for me. So I had another life when we talked about um, the wheel of yoga and we talked about different paths of the yoga tradition. And some of the paths of the yoga tradition are karma yoga, which is selfless service. We have Jnana Yoga, which is wisdom. We have Hatha Yoga, which is working on the body for purification. There is also Raja Yoga, which is concerned with meditation. And then we have Bhakti Yoga. And when I first was taught about Bhakti Yoga, it was interesting because it was taught to me as a religion. So that this is the religious part of yoga, and it's not until you learn more about Bhakti Yoga that you realize that it is more than a religion, or parts of Bhakti Yoga could be considered a religion. In fact, a lot of the yoga system could be considered a religion because it all comes from a system of beliefs that at the same time were considered a science in the Hindu culture. So we're talking about, I would say, like 3,000 years ago, 4,000 years ago. 4,000 years ago is more like the beginning of it based on what we know in terms of research and archaeological findings. But through the centuries, all these different paths of yoga have become a little bit more, how can I say this? They have been becoming a bit more resolved in terms of explaining it to someone else or teaching it to someone else or passing them from teacher to student from an oral tradition. But as they become more resolved, they also start to branch out more into different paths, into different lineages. So one can say that if we're talking about Bhakti Yoga, one can say that Bhakti Yoga could be seen as a religion depending on the lineage that has evolved from the very root of Bhakti Yoga. And then some other people would call it maybe a spiritual practice or a lifestyle or a way of being as opposed to a religious belief. So so when it comes to Bhakti Yoga, it is interesting to, or it is important to consider a few things. One of the things is that Bhakti is about emotion. And if you are someone who maybe emotion is challenging, then Bhakti Yoga might seem also a little bit abstract to you. Bhakti Yoga is also concerned with being separated as a being. So if I am a Bhakti yogi, I am separated from the object that I am in a way being devoted to. So some parts of Bhakti Yoga, some devotees of Bhakti Yoga would say that their object of devotion is a certain god. Some some devotees of Bhakti Yoga would say that their object of devotion is the universe or something bigger than them that they cannot explain. So God, the word God, and when one thinks of God, might feel of like this entity that maybe has a face or a name or a history. But when you say that you are simply devoted to something that is beyond yourself, that becomes more abstract. So it is also depends on the lineage. Being devoted to either that is a being that has been taught to you in your culture, or being devoted to something else that is just bigger than yourself, call it the universe, energy, um, a bigger part. But you will never be together with that higher being. So if we think about, let's say, Raja Yoga and Jnana Yoga, so Raja Yoga is a path of meditation, Jnana Yoga is a path of wisdom. If we think about those two, with they're more concerned with with the mind in a way. And if we think of Hatha Yoga, it is more concerned with the the purification of the body for self-transcendence. And then if we think of Bhakti Yoga, then we think of being connected to love or to emotion for self-transcendence. So So then, when we talk about, or when it is said that Bhakti Yoga is about love and emotion, I like to think about Karma Yoga, because Karma Yoga is a lot about action, selfless action. So doing something for somebody else without expecting anything in return. Same thing with Bhakti Yoga is loving something, having an emotion towards something without expecting anything in return. So this is even when we talk about karma yoga and the selfless service, doing something without expecting anything in return, is challenging in a way because we have a mind, and sometimes even though we do something for someone else that's good to them, maybe part of us is like, oh, maybe I did something good for that person today. So I feel good about myself. Maybe that person feels good about myself. So there is a tiny bit of acceptance. We feel accepted by ourselves. We might feel accepted by others because we just did something great for someone else. And that is a challenge. How can we perform an action towards somebody else that's going to be good for them without really expecting that little feeling of acceptance from other people or ourselves, without expecting that we're going to be accepted, without expecting that something good is also going to happen to us because we just did something great for someone else. So Bhakti Yoga is very similar in the sense of like, how can I love, let's call this higher entity, how can I love this higher entity without and not expect love back, not expect anything in return. So unconditional love. Unconditional love, it is just part of my being that I am believing in this higher entity without expecting enlightenment, without expecting good things coming my way. So I think that in our world today, there is a lot of I do something good for you because I am also gonna get back, something back in return, something good back in return. So that is the point of Bhakti Yoga, is to love unconditionally. And briefly earlier on, I talked about um, all these systems of yoga dating back to thousands of years ago. So we have the Vedas, and the Vedas is an old scripture that is the foundation for a lot of these a lot of these teachings, and and the Vedas, again, they were not books; they were simply teachings that were passed on from teachers to students, and And it was many centuries in which this information was passed on from teacher to student. Now, I like to think about the time of the Vedas are about 4,000 years ago, and then I think of the Bhagavad Gita, which is a scripture that again was information passed from teacher to student, but then eventually it also became um, an actual scripture. I dated or based on of what I've learned that the Bhagavad Gita is about 2,000 years old. So if we think about the Vedas about 4,000 years ago, we think about the Bhagavad Gita, which is about 2,000 years ago. So there was 2,000 years in between in which this information has evolved. So Bhakti Yoga and the other systems of yoga were, in a way, the foundation was planted about 4,000 years ago, but it wasn't until 2,000 years ago in the Bhagavad Gita that these systems are now being seen as part of the yoga tradition, but also different pathways that we can take in order to achieve self-transcendence. So Bhakti Yoga is mentioned in the Bhagavad Gita a lot because it is about trusting that you are doing something from a place of love and that the results of that are going to be good for the world. Without getting into details about the Bhagavad Gita, because it is a story about war, the behind meaning at the time, that because it's a story about war, but it's basically a story to really explain emotions and love toward a higher being. Without getting into detail about the Bhagavad Gita, that is the conclusion of the Bhagavad Gita, or one of the conclusions of the Bhagavad Gita is to love without expecting anything in return, to act with love. So instead of not acting and staying passive, to act with love, and then trusting that because you're acting with love, then it is going to be for the benefit of the world and the universe. So it is a lot about acting from a place of love, trusting that it is the right path for you. It is also about devoting your whole self to this higher entity that is separated from you, that you will never really join together. So if we think about, I think I was trying to explain this earlier and I sort of like lost my train of thought. But the idea that in a lot of the other systems of yoga, especially in Patanjali's, which is a Raja Yoga and is concerned with meditation, is that eventually if we do all these steps in the right way, that we eventually achieve alignment and unification with the higher consciousness. With Bhakti yogis, that's never the case. The unification will never really happen because that thing that you are devoting your whole self to is completely separate to you. And even though you might achieve alignment and transcend the ego, eventually you're still a step below the higher consciousness you're trying to devote yourself to. So there's always going to be that duality, that separation between you and as I said before, could be the God that you're trying to devote yourself to, or the universe, or a higher consciousness. There is also, and as I mentioned also earlier about the lineages of Bhakti Yoga, there is the idea that, yes, I could go toward the lineage of love and emotion and giving myself to that higher being, or I could go for the lineage of, which is a little bit more like Jnana Yoga, wisdom, the lineage of study. So I can study the scriptures of the gods, of faith, of spirituality, and that is going to help me to enhance my devotion toward that higher being, that practice toward that higher being. Now, something that I find interesting is that is a way for me, because I don't consider myself a Bhakti yogi. And I think in our Western world, there is, my dog just arrived. So in the Western world, there is the idea that yoga is about a physical practice. So poses that will make our bodies more intelligent and purify our bodies. And the byproduct of that is that we're going to look better. So because in our Western world, there is a big emphasis on poses, postural yoga, there are ways that we can still incorporate these other concepts of, let's say, meditation or studying of the scriptures or selfless service, karma yoga, or even bhakti yoga. So a way for me that I can practice bhakti yoga for myself and that I do on a daily basis is with the metta meditation, love and kindness meditation. And with love and kindness meditation, the challenge is that, first of all, and if we have time, we'll do some of that first of all, we give love to ourselves. May I be happy, may I be well, may I be healthy and strong, may I be peaceful and at ease. So we start with ourselves, then let's say that we think about someone else, could be a parent, could be your partner, could be your pets. May they be happy, may they be well, may they be healthy and strong, may they be peaceful and at ease. And then we go through maybe someone we just saw on the street yesterday, an acquaintance or a neighbor, and then eventually you go towards somebody that you have challenges with. And if you choose someone that has really hurt you in the past, that is when the practice of Bhakti Yoga begins. And before I continue, just want to make sure that I don't have any comments. Oh, Sonia says, hi Juan. Hi Sonia. Perfect. So when we are thinking about that other person that maybe hurt us in the past, and then we start to think of them in a way that we're sending them love, that can be very challenging. So if we think of, may they be happy, may they be well, may they be healthy and strong, may they be peaceful and at ease, that is when the practice of Bhakti Yoga really comes in, because Bhakti Yoga is not only about devoting yourself or loving yourself unconditionally, something positive, is also perhaps devoting and loving unconditionally something that is negative, that maybe in our society we don't practice too much, or we are not taught to practice. Our programming when we grow from being babies and we grow into adulthood, that programming that is taught to us in our cultures may not include love something that you have a challenge with. And that is really the foundation of Bhakti Yoga, is loving what is challenging for you, loving what has hurt you in the past unconditionally. Is just simply sending them good vibes. So think about it. It's also a practice. It might take time. You might not be able to do it right away if you haven't practiced metta meditation in that way. But I would say that that's one of the best ways to incorporate Bhakti Yoga in your daily life, because at the end of the day, the system of yoga is telling us that everything is connected, and that if we have loving and devotional feelings toward a higher being, then that higher being is the umbrella of everything that is reality in our life, including the negative and the positive. So that higher being is both, is the negative and is the positive. Let's, there is so much about Bhakti Yoga that we could talk about, but I think the details of Bhakti Yoga are more related to different lineages that you may want to study if you're interested in that. As I said before, some lineages might be more wisdom oriented, some lineages might be more faith oriented. And that would make them feel that might be more religious than others. But as I said before, there are aspects of the system of Bhakti that we can incorporate in our daily living. So why don't we do a quick metta meditation before we finish our practice? So I invite you to just find a comfortable position, seated. You may also lie down if you like. And close your eyes. And as you close your eyes here, if you're sitting down, making sure that you have a tall spine. Take a deep inhale through the nose, and through the mouth, exhale. And again, through the nose, inhale. And through the mouth, exhale. And then you start to visualize yourself here, sitting, lying down, or standing. And as you visualize yourself, silently to yourself, repeat after me. May I be happy and well. May I be healthy and strong. May I be peaceful and at ease. May I be happy and well. May I be healthy and strong. May I be peaceful and at ease. And as you continue to visualize yourself, now think of a family member, visualize them, and repeat after me. May they be happy and well. May they be healthy and strong. May they be peaceful and at ease. May they be happy and well. May they be healthy and strong. May they be peaceful and at ease. Now I invite you to visualize someone that you know, but maybe it's not a friend. It could be a coworker or a neighbor or someone that you see frequently at the store or at the office. And silently repeat after me. May they be happy and well. May they be healthy and strong. May they be peaceful and at ease. May they be happy and well. May they be healthy and strong. May they be peaceful and at ease. And then start to visualize someone that you have a challenge with. Maybe someone who hurt you in the past in one way or another. You can choose the level, whether it is someone that is very challenging for you to think about or less challenging. If you're new to this, you can choose somebody that is less challenging to think about. Could be a politician. And as you visualize them, again, repeat after me. May they be happy and well. May they be healthy and strong. May they be peaceful and at ease. May they be happy and well. May they be healthy and strong. May they be peaceful and at ease. And then lastly, let's think of all the beings. You can imagine or visualize the world. And repeat after me. May all beings be happy and well. May all beings be healthy and strong. May all beings be peaceful and at ease. May all beings be happy and well. May all beings be healthy and strong. May all beings be peaceful and at ease. So continue to breathe here naturally at your own pace. And when you're ready, slowly start to open your eyes. And I would like you to reflect on maybe how that felt, especially when we got to the challenging person that we were thinking about. And you can journal about it, you can write it down, you can think about it. And having said that, I thank you for joining me, whether you're watching live or recorded. Thank you for joining me for this live, and I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. The light in me sees the light in you. Thank you.